So I made a video, I think last week, where I talked about this weird dream I had where I had a very specific tattoo on my ankle. It was of a jester. And I just want to shout out to Wings of Change. You mentioned a channel on YouTube that I went and found. And, I mean, he did an amazing presentation on the Royal Order of Jesters, which I mentioned before, is a offshoot of the Freemasons. Really, really good video. So I'm actually shouting both of you guys out. For now, I can't even think of the actual channel. It'll come to me. But anyway, thank you, Wings of Change. So I watched the video, and what really stood out, aside from, you know, the bits and pieces that I didn't really know about the Jesters. Like I said before in the previous video, what I did know is that it's one of those honorary titles or degrees that you get, right? You don't, like, they come to you. You can't just, supposedly just, work your way up to being that. They have to seek you out. You have to be a 33rd degree Mason, and you also have to be a Shriner to become a Royal Jester, okay? But what I found really weird, the weirdest thing that I found about the whole thing, is that you notice whenever you look at any of the Royal Jester regalia, the symbols, the any of their merchandise, for lack of a better word, there's a little figure that pops up. He looks like a little perverted Buddha, right? And I found out it's called a Billiken, right? Okay, so the Billiken is the unofficial, or no official, well, why would I say unofficial? He is the official, mascot, and let's be honest, he's the patron, he's more like the patron deity, right? Of the Royal Order of Jesters. He appears in all of their stuff, he's there, he is there, and normally, one or two things, he has his feet up, so you would look at him, he looks, he looks very Buddha-like, but again, weirdly perverted, or inverted, he's like Bizarro Buddha, if you know that terminology from Superman comics. And he normally has his feet up, these really big exaggerated feet, and they claim if you rub his feet, you get good luck, right? So it gets really, really weird, because not only does he appear in all of the stuff associated with the Royal Jesters, if you go to Osaka, Japan, specifically Osaka, it's in other parts too, but in Osaka, he is the patron thing there in Osaka. Okay, there are big statues, and what's so funny is if you see him in a place like Japan, you don't really think much about it, because it looks like it's something that would kind of fit into that culture, a very Japanese or Asian type of figure, again, like Buddha, but he's not. And he's actually referred to as the god of things as they ought to be, which is very strange, right? But even stranger than all of that, the assimilation of this figure into Japanese culture, the fact that it is synonymous with the Royal Order of Jesters, is that it was created by a woman named Florence Pretz, the mid 1900s, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think I'm in the ballpark. She was an artist, an illustrator, and she just comes up with this character, this entity. Because it's on the surface, you just say, oh, it's a woman and she drew a thing. No, because the two glaring aspects of that are it just being embraced by this esoteric society, and the fact that, again, it is literally like a god in parts of Japanese culture. Okay? And it's just very, very strange. It's very, very strange. So the question I really have, and the question that I want to know, and I'm curious what you guys think, is, like, I'm just going to assume that this Florence Pretz was like a Masonic housewife or a channel. And because, again, why would the jesters just accept this entity, this drawing? You know, why that? You've already got your symbolism with your jesters. Why do you bring this other thing into the whole pantheon? So I'm going to assume that she was some type of like mystic in those circles, and she either what I haven't really figured out yet is, like, did she channel this entity from another plane of existence and just kind of bring it back here into this, you know, because that's what happens. Like, that's the whole thing about, like, I think personally, I could be totally wrong. And yes, I think that that's why, like, in the Bible, it talks about idolatry. Not for the exact reasons that you think. I think that one of the reasons why it was so is because you can pull things into this dimension that way. I mean, this may be a hot take, right? And I know there's like all the no gods before me. I get all that. But, like, when you create an image of a thing, you bring it here. If it didn't have that type of anchor before, you're giving it that type of anchor. Much more when you create a statue of it. You're literally giving it something, to a conduit for it to exist in. Right? So I think that might be the case with this Billiken creature. Either that, or it's a tulpa. In that case, it still exists. Because all of these people, all of these mystics have now given that creature their energy. You know? I think it's really, really weird. Also, there is I'm going to say Kansas. Like, the Billiken is the, like, mascot. See, the dog knows. The dog is agreeing. Everything that I'm saying, that dog is agreeing with me. The Billiken is the mascot of, I think it's some Kansas City college team. And again, people just are like, oh, well, this is the thing. It's like, you know, like I was watching a video. And I went down a rabbit hole. I was watching a video, and they give tours in parts of Osaka, and, like, this Billiken dude is just there, right? And I mean, there's like the traditional statue of him. He looks gold, very gold idly, you know. Like, again, to take it back to, like, you know, the golden calf and all that crap back in, you know, biblical times, right? It's very golden. So the basic, somebody's arguing. So the basic, like, look of him is, like, very golden calfy, right? But then you also have all these other versions of him where he's like, sometimes he's like, it's almost like Mickey Mousey, right? Where he's like, he's playing baseball, or he's a doctor, or, you know, it's really, really weird. But, like, there's, like, this obsession with the Billiken in Japan that, you know, and I was actually talking to a friend, I'm sorry, to get back to my point. They're giving tours in Osaka, you know, and this guy is, like, talking about the Billiken. But it's just like, nobody's really talking about, like, okay, this was, like, created by this lady, or this was, like, how did it get here, you know? Anyway, like, I think one of my my main theories on that is, if you look at just what happened in Japan, because it's always the case, right? It's just like, generally after, like, wars, they put up a Masonic lodge in a place, You know, there was no masonry didn't really exist in Japan until like after the war. Then suddenly it's everywhere. So if the jesters are just an offshoot of the masons, and yeah, that could be a explanation of how something like that just got transplanted. But I don't know. Every time I look at it, it gives off a weird energy. So there's something more going on under the hood, as it were. Anyway, that's all I have to say on that subject. If there's anybody out there that knows more about the Billiken, please let me know, because it's very, very strange, man. Very, very strange. Anyway, talk to you soon. Bye.